All right. How to become a better lover during lockdown. So let me introduce myself first. For those of you who don't know me, I've been a licensed marriage and family therapist for over 30 years. I'm in private practice in Los Angeles. Now I'm actually on private practice online. So I'm seeing clients from all over the place. I've also been studying tantra for over 30 years, and I lived for 1 year at the Osho ashram in India, a full-time immersion in tantra and meditation. And I also teach tantra with my husband, Greg Lawrence. I'll tell you a little bit more about that at the end. I am a student of pickup. That's how I got here. For those of you that haven't heard my story, I was single and I really was going to find somebody, and all the girl dating books were helpful to a point, but I had read The Game and thought there was really helpful stuff in there. And I started becoming a student of the mystery method, and it really improved my game a lot. I was starting to meet better men and have more fun. And then I noticed that I could meet tens, but I couldn't hang on to them. So I Googled seduction coaching, and that turned out to be Vince's URL. And I worked one-on-one with Vince for 1.5 years. And at the end of that time, I landed not at 10, but at 25. And we have been married now for 1.5 years. So I love pickup, and I love guys who study pickup. And Vince has been nice to have me come to this conference now for the past, 3 years or so. My pickup tip for the day, even though that's not my topic today, my pickup tip for the day is, it's only when you are able to reject tens that you can get a 10. It's only when you are not baffled and totally dependent on a 10 that you can get one. When I rejected my first 10, that's when I got my freedom. I was sitting across from the table from the most gorgeous guy you could ever imagine, wearing a couple $1,000 suit, and he was dropping names of all the celebrities he knew. And I just realized I couldn't stand to be with this guy. And he knew a lot of people. I knew it would help me. And I was like, I can't stand this guy. I can do better than this. And that's when I got freedom. Okay, basically, so what I'm going to talk about today is, so we think that we cannot become, so obviously the best way to become a better lover is to have a lot of sex and have a lover and practice a lot, but most of us can't do that. A lot of us can't do that during the lockdown. So that's why I want to address what we can do while we're on our own, so that when we come out on the other side, we can have a lot more sense of mastery and better skills. Another thing I just want to give a bid for is a lot of guys. I know pickup's all about the younger the better and so forth, but I just want to say that a lot of guys have learned to become really great lovers having an older lover, because older women often like to teach younger guys. So to have a girlfriend for a while, that is a tried and true method. I'm not available anymore, but I actually, you never know what can happen, because my second husband was 20 years younger. So you just never know. But getting an older woman who you feel safe with, who's willing to give you feedback, that's tried and true. But anyway, back to lockdown. So basically there's two kinds of sex. So you see this beautiful graphic here. I just want to give a shout out to this artist. This is Alpha Channeling. And if you want to follow him on Instagram, he's awesome. He does the most amazing erotic art. He's always getting shut down, but we watch him while we can. You can see here the mastery and magic of sexuality. So basically, there's two kinds of sex, and a lot of this we're not taught. There's procreative sex, which is making babies like nature intended, and that doesn't take any kind of art. It's just enter, move around a little bit, and squirt. And whether or not the woman has any pleasure or not, it doesn't really matter. It's just to make babies. And this is actually what I've read is what's most going on around the world. And it takes about 3.5 minutes on average. And that's one kind of sex. The other kind of sex is every other kind. That's recreational sex for fun, athletic sex, love making with someone you care about, or even if someone you just met last night you want to make love with, sacred sexuality, and tantra. All these kinds of sexuality would be put in another category. The first kind takes no skill or practice whatsoever. You just do it. The second kind requires, all the different kinds requires learning and practice. And I know you guys are guys who work on yourself, so I know you have all put some time and effort in. And I just would like to help you go a little further with that today. I also just want to say this can be a lifetime art, because you're fed a lot of misinformation. Everyone's fed a lot of misinformation today, as I'm sure you've heard throughout this conference. If you want any education or information of any value, you have to go outside the mainstream, because the mainstream is not only telling you only a little bit, they're giving you false information all the time. There's plenty of good stuff you can get there, but for example, you'll never become a millionaire listening to them. You'll never become a great lover. So another good thing to know about all these other kinds of sex is that they tell you this goes downhill with age, and it can, but it doesn't have to. This can be an art form where you get better and better and better and better and better. Like any kind of martial art or any other kind of practice, you can continue to improve. So what I'm going to talk about today, what you can do to become a better lover, and what you can practice during lockdown while you are not perhaps with a partner. We're going to talk first about your environment. Then we're going to talk about solo practice. Then we're going to talk about personal work on yourself. And then we're going to talk about embodiment. So first of all, is your environment a pleasure palace? And a lot of guys fall short on this. Over my life, I've been to quite a few guys' apartments, homes, and I'll tell you who I remember is a guy, I don't remember much about him except how much I loved to be in his bed and in his bedroom. He had the most luscious bed, the most luscious sheets, lots of pillows. It was just a pleasure palace to be there. A lot of women will go over to a guy's house and he sort of got like, well, stuff all over, not arranged nice, not nice sheets, very old, not that clean, the bathroom's not that clean, and so on. So you want to think in terms of, you want your lover to want to stay and you want her to come back. So you want to start, well, one thing you can do, you can order all this great stuff on Amazon. In fact, in January, we're almost out of January and February, they have what's called white sales, which means towels and sheets go on sale, and comforters and beds and so on. And you can now easily go to IKEA and buy a whole set or whatever you need to order. This is a good time to get your environment in order. In Principles of Feng Shui, which is I'm not sure if it's Chinese, but it's Asian principles of attraction, you want to have things in sets of two. So I know, for example, before I started getting into this, when I was having trouble attracting the lover that I wanted, I didn't have, for example, two bedstands because I was there by myself most of the time. So I just had one bedstand, and the guy came over and I'd be like, well, you can use mine or whatever. And you want to get two of everything because you're trying to attract two. So the energy that you create in your space has a lot to do with what and whom you attract. It's all creating a frequency. It's all creating a frequency of, this is a sensual place. This is a place where beautiful feelings happen. This is a place where I love to roll around in the sheets. The covers feel comfy. There's thick, lush towels. One way you can really jazz up your bathroom and make her want to take a shower there is just spring for 10 extra bucks and get some really lovely towels. Not like the extra towel is, I know for a long time my extra towel for guests was not quite as nice as my other towels. What's up with that? It should be nicer. You want, when you walk into your bedroom, you want the bed to be the focal points. You walk in, you see the bed. It's not like over against the wall. It's commanding the space. This is where we do bed things. The purpose of this room is to make love. The purpose of this room is to sleep. The purpose of this room is to relax. So you want to set this up. You want the bed not on the floor. That's not a grown-up kind of bed. That's not a kind of bed that a seducer or a man who knows how to handle women would have. You want a headboard. It doesn't have to be the greatest. You can get One thing I like about IKEA or West Elms, are very trendy. It's not the furniture that will last the longest, but it's cheaper and you can get it online and you can just get your bedroom redone so that when we are having guests over in person again, you have this luscious place. Clean, distraction free. Your bedroom should not be a gaming room or an office. One thing they say in Feng Shui is that you shouldn't be doing anything other than your bed, than sleeping and making love. I know a lot of us command our whole lives from our bed, but this is not it's not create a pleasure palace. You probably want to get the TV out of there. It's up to you. But you don't, in the bathroom should be the same way. It's, you just go in there to have a nice thing, nice smells, nice towels, it's clean. And then in the rest of your environment, you want to get it ready always so that when a guest comes over, you're ready to be a host. So you should, for example, always have some treats. What do women like to eat? Women always like sweets. So I used to always keep some cookies in the freezer, or Trader Joe's has lots of little things you can keep in the freezer to pop in the oven because I didn't want to eat them myself. I think that everyone who drinks alcohol should always keep a split of champagne in the refrigerator ready. So, and you should replace it when you use it, because it's very cool to always be able to open a little bottle of champagne. You want to spoil the whole thing, but even the morning after, sometimes you can pour that with orange juice, but you just always have these things ready because you're a man who expects to be entertaining. You want to have chocolates, you can eat those in bed, it's delicious. You might want to spring for some nice soap. Women like things that smell good. Okay, candles in the bedroom, some nice shampoo. Women like to not have the cheapest shampoo in almost all cases. So again, you're setting up an environment where a woman wants to come and wants to stay and wants to come back to. So you really think you can, you can get someone to help you, or you can, right now, like I said, there's a lot of sales going on online. And this is one way you can become a better lover during the pandemic. Get ready. Okay, another thing you can do, you can add this to your exercise routine. I don't know about you, but at first during the pandemic, it was like, oh, just be lazy. And then it was like, I'm going to get in shape. So my husband and I trained for a half marathon. I started studying Qigong, etc. So what you can add to your exercise routine here in lockdown is you can add Kegels. How many guys do Kegels already? Not very many. Okay, Kegels are an exercise here. If you can see here on the diagram, this area on a man's body, woman's body too, right between the anus and the testicles. But on the woman, of course, it's between the anus and the vagina. And this is a very sensitive spot. And it is known in Taoist Chinese sexuality to be a extremely sensitive part. It's actually the base of the penis. If you actually feel under there, you can feel that the penis comes all the way down to this area. And if you haven't already, you can see this area really likes to be stroked, licked, enticed, and actually pressed. You can take your thumb and press in there. It's called, this is a tantric secret, it's called the $1 million point, because if you press in on that area, you actually can stimulate the prostate and so on. That's advanced tantra, but I'll just let you know about it now. And if you take some of my later classes, you can find more about it. But what we're going to do is exercise this muscle, because this muscle in you probably is not really weak. It tends to weaken with age, but the same thing. You're not going to not exercise your biceps or your quads just because they might get weak when you're older. You want everything to be in really good shape. So one thing you can do is start practicing these Kegels so that you can be in great shape. You can be in your top sexual shape, because when you're back out there and you want to be with a woman, you want to be like in the best sexual shape you can be. Exercising these muscles, and we're going to do this in just a minute, except I forgot my phone. I'm going to have to go get my phone. But it brings blood to the area when you exercise this area. We're going to do it by squeezing. It gives you stronger erections. If you have any issues with premature ejaculation or erectile dysfunction, It will help with that. It provides more intense orgasms and prevents problems later. So again, it's this area right in here. So you can get an app on your phone. This one that I have here is called Kegel Trainer. There's a lot of them. There's actually ones that are specifically for men, or this one's gender neutral. What you're going to do is you're going to take this muscle that you use when you stop the pee. So just feel into that right now. You squeeze, stop the pee, let it go, relax. Squeeze, let it go. It's also if you hold, if you're trying to not pass gas, you would squeeze this area. So you're squeezing, as we saw, you're squeezing this area. You're not squeezing your necessarily your stomach muscles. You're squeezing the area. Just imagine that you're stopping the stream of pee. When I first met Greg, and after we make love, I could hear him in the bathroom. He would be peeing like this. I go, what are you doing? Well, he's just doing some Kegels. So we're going to do now some rounds on this Kegel trainer. And we're going to do level 1. This one goes up to 20 levels. And there's going to be 10 rounds. And if you want to play along with me, it's going to tell you when to squeeze and when to relax. And then it'll have squeeze, squeeze, relax. Okay? So you guys ready for this? Here we go. Squeeze, relax. Squeeze. Okay, number 2. Number 3. 4. Number 5. Six.
I'm starting to get in an erection here. Are we supposed to keep going?
That's no problem. Okay, so we'll stop after 6. There's actually 10 on this app. All the apps are different, but this one has 10 per day, and then you work your way up the levels. And this is a very easy thing to do while you're home. You can just add it to your exercise routine.
That was actually cool. Thank you, though.
You're welcome. All right, so these are the solo things you can do while you're at home to practice becoming a better lover. You can do these Kegel exercises. So you can add that very simply. You know, I just personally, I put it in my day planner every day to check off that I did this. Okay, another thing you can do is practice arousal without ejaculating. So you have been told and are continually programmed from porn. I'm not anti-porn, but you are being continually programmed that arousal means ejaculation. And you're being taught to stimulate yourself until ejaculation. And then that's what it's about. And then, so that again that is procreative sex. That is not love making. So if you want to do that, no problem. But if you also want to be teaching yourself how to become a better lover, you want to be able to arouse yourself. And then you decide whether or not you want to ejaculate, because you have also not been told that you can orgasm without ejaculating. In conventional sex, they're the same thing. In tantric sex, they're different. And we can get into that in a future class if you want to take one, but I'll just give you that information now because it goes against conventional wisdom. So what you want to do, you're wired that stimulation equals ejaculation, and everyone, men and women alike, have become desensitized. So they're just trying to get themselves aroused so that they can ejaculate. And when you're making love, you want to be able to hold that ejaculation for as long as you and she want, or he if you have a male partner. You want to be able to, for yourself as a lover, to be able to ejaculate when you choose, not when nature decides for you, not when your body decides, but you want to be able to continue to teach yourself how to make that last longer. So porn is about doing it as quickly as possible. Yes, it feels good, but we want to get to that ejaculation point. And tantric lovers can stay hard and aroused for 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, many hours, because they have learned to get themselves aroused and then decide when and if they come. And you don't have to aspire to that. I don't know why you wouldn't, but you don't have to want to make love for many, many hours. I would recommend it, but at least you want to be able to last longer, as long as you and she both want. And maybe even longer, because neither of you know that longer is possible. So you practice not coming all the time. You can edge. Some of you guys know that edging is very, very pleasant. And what that means is you're staying just below the orgasm, and staying there and breathing. And then if you feel like coming, instead of increasing the pressure, you relax. So you stimulate yourself, and then instead of increasing it so you will ejaculate, you relax into it. And this is a way of teaching yourself, starting to start a process of teaching yourself that I can stay aroused, I can relax, I don't have to head for that point of no return every time. In the art of lovemaking, if you want to make love for hours, you'll need to not be able to come for hours. So this is a way that you can take your self-pleasuring while you're in lockdown and make it into a practice of how could I, rather than come whenever you want, do the porn spell whenever you want, but if you want to, sometimes also add a practice of, I'm gonna become stimulated, aroused, maybe even while doing my Kegels, that's okay, and not have to ejaculate. It doesn't have to be every time. In fact, the Taoists, these ancient Taoist sexual masters in ancient China, and even today, there's a lot of them in Thailand, they recommend that men in their 20s come no more than twice a week, men in their 30s once a week, men in their 40s just once every 10 days, because the vitamins and nutrients and stuff that come out during that in the ejaculate is very rich and full of all kinds of good stuff, and that losing your energy that in that way, they feel that you, by not ejaculating, you pull the energy back up into your body, and then you have that energy not expanded out of you, but you keep it inside you. Again, this is only if you want to. Nobody needs to do this. I'm not saying everyone has to. These are some people smarter than you and me, figured this stuff out a really long time ago and have passed that wisdom on. Again, it's not in the mainstream, but it's not hard to find books that talk about the Taoist sexual practices for men and for women. So if you want to, while you're in lockdown, you could learn to, once you come out of lockdown, you could be a lover who's able to last longer without the pressure of needing to come. One thing women complain about, he was using me to ejaculate into. He just wanted to use me. It was a masturbation. And this is a common complaint of women. And if you are not using a woman for that, but you're in control of that, and I'm not using you for that, and I don't even have to come, I might, it's up to me and you whether or not I do, but I don't have to ejaculate. I don't have to use you for that. We're here for something else. We're here for the magic. So pornography, again, pornography is fine, but it's important to remember that it's for entertainment. It's not education about lovemaking. Porn is great. It can be educational about, I know I looked up the other day, I had some lesbian clients, they told me they were scissoring. I had no idea what that was. I had to look that up, and porn was my friend to teach me about that. All kinds of things you can be taught about. It's great. It is not education in how to make love. Most women do not like the style of sex that is portrayed in porn. Most women, not all women, like it much slower and much gentler, and you're not going to learn much about that in porn. So again, while you're here in lockdown, you can enjoy it as entertainment, have fun with it, use it however you want, but then also realize that's not preparing you to be a better lover. You know, I was thinking about, I didn't even know I was going to include this, but one of my notes for when I was thinking how to put this talk together was men should all read a romance novel. I don't even know if I've ever read one, but that's women's porn. You know, men's fantasy is porn and women's fantasy is romance novels. So if you get how guys act in there, that's how women want men to act, most women. Okay, So then we move into your personal work, and that's some of the stuff you're doing here. And this is, I'm a therapist, so a lot of this near and dear to my heart. But there's a lot of things in our personality and in our background and in our culture that make it difficult for us to be great lovers. And these are a lot of things we work on in Tantra. People think Tantra is all about sex, but it's very sex positive, but it's also about what is in our way of being better lovers? What is in our way of letting sexual energy flow completely free, open, wild, crazy? What's in the way? So some of the things that are in the way are feeling body shame, feeling hatred about our bodies, not thinking we have great abs, or we don't have the right size dick, or we don't have this or that, and I'm not tall enough, whatever. We're taught these unattainable standards by the media. We're taught that, women especially have this, but I think now with the rise of the internet, men have it just as bad as women, that there are unattainable standards of what attractive looks like. And if we are not that, we often take it out on our self-esteem and our bodies, and that's going to get in the way of us being great lovers. Because if you get into bed with someone and you're not feeling great about yourself, and she's not feeling great about yourself, you're not going to be able to really commune and connect and have great sex. So one thing you want to do is work on yourself. Of course, I always recommend therapy, but whatever, however you want to work on this, you can work on it in Vince's groups or whatever. Just starting to learn to love your own body and starting to see the beauty in all women's bodies, because women are under, if you read some of the statistics on eating disorders for women and how much they all hate their own bodies, you would be shocked, because I know you think that these women are much more beautiful than they feel to be inside themselves. I have had fashion models as clients in my office, and they're talking about how hideous they are. I'm like, really? Or I had these women in when I used to specialize in eating disorders, like, I'm so fat. I'm like, where are you fat? And they go like this, right here. It's like, whatever. It's this unattainable standards. And that again is going to get in the way of having really beautiful lovemaking, is if two people are coming together in bed who don't feel good about themselves. When we were in India, we did almost everything naked. We're in these huge rooms, everybody's naked, so that we could all get used to what everybody really looks like, not just in magazines, but this is what naked people really look like. So I would really recommend that if you can do it. Needing to please, if you're a people pleaser, that will get in your way of having really beautiful sex. Childhood trauma, childhood wounding gets in the way of having a beautiful sex life, because people who've been beaten, traumatized, emotionally abused, put down, parents were alcoholics, people who were neglected, all this stuff, until you are able to clear it through all kinds of beautiful clearing processes. I know Vince teaches some. There's a lot of stuff on the internet. There's men's groups, there's therapy, there's coaching, all kinds of things to help us. These terrible messages we got from our past about who we are, how we're not good enough, all that's going to show up in the bedroom also. So any work you can do to clear this stuff shows up everywhere. It shows in business, shows up in how much money you make, shows up in the bedroom. Of course, it shows up in pickup, everywhere. So it's just this constant, and there's also this thing that you can work on this stuff and then it shows up again later. It's like, I thought I was done with that. Well, there's just more work to do. That's part of the human process of growing as a person. So this, again, is something that you can do while you're in lockdown, is work on some of this. Yeah, I should probably get some therapy about that childhood thing. This is a really good time. Therapists are really quite busy right now because a lot of people are sitting home and going, I should work on some of that stuff. So there's a lot of therapists online now at every price point. You can find people for not that expensive, all the way to people who've been doing it for a long time and charge a good amount. And it's a good time right now, because that again will show up in how good of a lover you are, how confident you are, how loving you can be, how your heart's open. You're not afraid to open your heart and share. You're not afraid to give your beautiful masculinity to somebody. You're just free and open and sharing. Unsafe environment. So this would be, I don't think that's not really, I used this slide for another class, I guess. I don't think that's really relevant to being in lockdown, but unloving sex. Every time we've had unloving sex, this leaves residue in the body. So I think that when I was really thinking about what I've talked quite a bit with men about this, unloving sex for men continues to treat them that their penis is something that is not sensitive. It's just to be used as a battering ram. It's just how good it is how hard it is, and how long you can last. And it's just this very sort of teaching you to treat this beautiful object, this beautiful, what we call in Tantra, the wand of light. It's teaching you to treat it like it's just this inanimate battering ram. And anytime you have sex like that, where you're not connecting and you're just using it either by yourself or with someone else, is just this inert thing, that leaves a residue in the body. In Tantra, we go in a lot and we try to heal a lot of that residue that this unloving sexuality has left on the heart and actually in the tissues of the body. And having a real mental focus about sex, we're not going to get into this a lot today, because this is, again, in other things, but just seeing sex totally mentally, which is always thinking while we're having sex, thinking, what should I do next? Is this other person liking it? What am I supposed to? All these kinds of thinking, again, keep us from being able to really connect and have sexual energy flow beautifully and freely like it was supposed to. So all of these issues are things we can work on while we're home. If we choose to, we can read a book about it. We can read some articles on the internet, get some counseling. It's beautiful. It frees you up in all areas. I know Robert Kiyosaki, one of my mentors, he's that guy who wrote the Rich Dad book. I used to study with him before he was famous. He used to say, when anything comes up, finance, business, relationships, we go get some counseling about it. That's it. All right, so what I'm going to do with you now is a guided meditation, and this is a recording that I have. So this is about, because Tantra is about going actually into the body. So yes, we have time. So I'm going to have you guys sit like a meditation, close your eyes, and I'm going to run the recording. Tantra is about being in the body. So we're going to do an exercise now about coming into our bodies. So please put your things down, get into a comfortable position, a little meditation. If you're willing, if you want to just sit, that's fine too. And for those of you that do yoga, if you want to just settle into a yoga posture, nobody gets extra points for sitting very stiffly and holding their breath. You get extra points for being really relaxed. Isn't that silence beautiful? So if you want to lower your eyes, close your eyes. I personally don't like to close my eyes when I'm with people I don't know, but if you're comfortable doing that, that's great. You can just lower them so you're not looking around. And first, without trying to change anything, notice how you're breathing. The contemporary conventional culture keeps us breathing very shallowly and very rapidly. Just notice that. There's nothing wrong with that. We need to breathe that way to not take in everything, all the traffic, everything that's so difficult. Just notice it. And now, take a deep breath. Pretty much everyone knows that to take a deep breath is a way to calm yourself. You'll say that to a friend, hey, chill, take a deep breath. Take a deep breath, fill up the rib cage. Let's hear some exhales. Excellent. Let's do that again. I want you to really scan how that feels differently taking a deep breath than it did when you had your day breath on. Just scan. If you feel different in your shoulders, your chest.
Just notice if you notice any difference. All right, so let's put our hands on our rib cage and let's notice that deep breath fills up the ribs, and let it go again. And let's move our hands down to our bellies. And what we're gonna do now is fill our bellies up with air. Does that actually literally happen? Not really, because obviously it only goes into our rib cage. But in yoga, we do belly breathing. What I envision to help me with this is I envision the air going down my spine, which of course it doesn't really do, but I think of it going down my spine to my tailbone, puffing out my belly when it's there, and then my belly collapses as the breath goes back up the spine and out the nose, out the mouth. So let's practice bringing the air all the way down into the belly, puff the belly out, and exhale, and let me hear you. Great. All right. Let's do that again. Into the belly. Just feel your belly. Most of us are not too fond of our bellies. We think our bellies are too flabby, or we don't have abs, or we just really try to hold it in. See somebody cute, you try to hold in your belly. But actually a really relaxed person has a relaxed belly. Just breathing. And notice that belly is sitting on a seat. Feel there where you're touching the seat. Feel your legs coming down to the ground. Notice that you're rooted here safely at this moment. You may open your eyes and somebody may not feel safe, may or may not, but in this private space, with you against the ground, there's safety in it. Let's bring that breath all the way down again. So not only are we going to bring the breath down to our tailbone, we're going to bring it down to the genitals. Some people in this room have never breathed into their genitals before. They're not really getting a whole lot of air. I want you to take your mind's eye and drop it down inside your belly and take a look around. Take a look around inside your belly. Look where you're sitting against the chair. Look at your belly that you usually maybe don't like too much. Look at your belly button. Look at your genitals from the inside. Just look around privately in your own sacred space. This is a beautiful place to make love from. Inside in your own sacred space. Let's bring the awareness up just a little bit to the navel on the inside. Let's bring it up to the solar plexus, which I didn't know what that was. It's right a little bit below where the ribs come together in the middle. It's our power center. Breathe in there. Let's take a look around inside our lungs. Inside. And come to your heart. And notice if your heart is still broken. Everyone in this room has had their heart broken. Every single one of us. Every single person you meet has a broken heart. Feel the state of your heart. Is it healing? Is Is it still broken? Is there a wall around it? Breathe in air into it. Deep breath, give it some healing breath. Feel the vulnerability in the heart. A lot of people are afraid to love again. Notice that when you breathe, that the air is bypassing the heart or going through it. A lot of people breathe in a pattern that goes around the heart rather than through the heart. It's a self-protection. Who can blame them? Bring your mind's eye up to your throat, inside your throat, and look at all the things you've been afraid to say in your life that have not passed through this barrier. All the times you wanted to tell someone you loved them, all the times you wanted to say something and just be heard, all the times you wanted to stand up and be strong and you just weren't able to yet. Notice if there's a barrier. For most people, probably for everyone, there's a strong barrier there at the throat of all the things that have not been said, all the things that weren't welcome. In the family we grew up in school, at our job, with our lovers. All those words, thoughts, feelings, vulnerabilities were not welcome, so they stuck here in the throat. Look around inside. Look at where, when you're inside, look at the layer of skin that surrounds your insides. And feel where that layer of skin touches the outside air. That's all that separates you from everything outside. Feel that skin. It's such a thin membrane. And notice that if you've been able to breathe and be in the body, the mind is blessedly silent. Osho used to talk about walking around as though we had our heads cut off, headless people. It's a beautiful thing to be in silence inside our bodies and not have to think. Some people would call this meditation. We can live embodied like this. It can be our own secret. You could be sitting in a board meeting and nobody has to know that you're just enjoying being inside your own self, breathing, feeling what it's like to feel the chair, feel the air, the exquisite pleasure of the air going in and out of your nostrils. Oh, you can just get high just from that if you really notice. You can just get high. It could be orgasmic just to sit and breathe. But whoever tells us that? This beautiful state can be practiced, can be cultivated. In Tantra, we try to become more, to remember this more. We try more and more to remember I am also my body. I'm not just a head, because the mind is thinking. And the body is like a little dog that's so happy to be alive. There's a great meme on Facebook. I don't know if you saw it. It had a guy and his dog, and the guy had his calendar, and he had all the things he had to do, and the dog had a calendar, and it said July 11th. The dog was like, "This is the best day of my life." July 12th. "This is the best day of my life." July 13th. "This is the best day of my life." When we center in without thinking, This is the best day of my life. But the mind will tell us it's not. So when you're ready, knowing that you can come back here at any time, and that if you choose to take this on as a practice, it will enrich and deepen. This is being holistic. This is being body and mind. So when you're ready, please come back to the room. Bring in your body with you. Hi, welcome back.
Okay, what you can do to become a better lover while you're at home during the pandemic, you can fix up your environment so that it's a pleasure palace, so that when you're ready to invite someone to join you, she wants to stay. You can do solo practice exercises, exercising your sex muscles so they're in top condition. You can practice your self-pleasure so that you don't have to orgasm every time. You can if you want, there's no problem. But if you want that level of mastery, you could start a practice on that. You can do personal work on yourself, cleaning up issues that you might have from your past, from your childhood, from some of the lies the culture has told you about yourself. And you can practice this embodiment wherever you go, whenever you can remember, I'm in my body. And remember, the mastery of any art is a lifetime pursuit. So the mastery of being a great lover can be something that gets better and better. This guy's been practicing his Qigong or his whatever he's practicing. He's a master now. The same can be true of you as a Venusian artist, as Mystery calls us, people who study the arts of love. I have, my husband and I, Greg, have a workshop coming up called Tantric Secrets About Women. That's a 2-hour online workshop that's coming up in a couple weeks. Tickets are on Eventbrite, and we have its companion piece about men coming up. That date is wrong. That's actually March 20th, so I need to correct that. You can work with me if you like, and you can stay in touch. Okay. That was pretty much an hour. Any questions?
Yeah, we as guys have what we call a 10. What would you as a woman consider a 25? Because you said something about 20.
He's really a 10. I just have to say how great he is. He's, before when I measured 10s, I was basically looking at the outside. I was looking at good looking, knows how to act, has a reasonable amount of money, but what I really forgot to ask for was a really kind, decent human being who goes out of their way to be kind to everyone else. So that was what put him way beyond a 10 to me. You know, when I found out he had raised a disabled son, I was like, wow, that takes character, that takes love. That is something that I know that person could take care of me if needed to be. And he takes care of he's a leader in his community, and he mentors young men. So that just was so beyond a 10. What I used to think was a 10, that I just wanted to tell the world that he's that great. I didn't know to look for that stuff before, you know? The mainstream culture tells you to look for very superficial things. And I mean, I like a good looking person as much as anybody. My husband's very good looking, but I was actually not impressed with that anymore, because in Los Angeles, good looking people are a dime a dozen. And I really got free by starting to date men more for their character. And so I think that what I had originally considered a 10 changed for me over the course of my pickup career. It still felt good to be able to say, hey, I was with him. My girlfriends would fall down. They couldn't believe I was with him. That stuff feels good for the ego, but really what you're trying to find in a long-term partner is someone that you feel utterly comfortable with being yourself, and they think you're the coolest person in the world. And you think they're the coolest person in the world. So pickup skills are great. It's good to get be able to get the people you want and then know how to keep them. So that's why I just really love this work. And then I believe it's a step beyond, because as we open our hearts, that's the kind of blossoming we want. As soon as we get as much sex as we want, which I think everyone should get, then it's like, where do you want to go with it from there? You want to get into spiritual ecstasy sex, and that's like, yeah, but you really need these phases of development. You need to get to the place where I've had enough, I'm not so starving anymore. These skills are great. We should all get to that place where we're not starving for sex anymore. Then we can start refining. So they come in different levels of development.
Catherine, I have a question.
Who is talking?
This is Sanjeev.
Oh, hi.
I have a picture there. Yeah, thank you. Meditation was great. Thank you. I have a question. Like, like for men, the definition of beauty, a 10, like I have seen myself, like I also got into mystery, Vince Kelvin, almost like 8, 10 years back. But
Yeah.
over the years, the definition of 10 has changed. Now I really like person who is a woman who is not psychotic. I have met a lot of them. So who is nicer,
Yeah.
really good at heart, and someone to have good conversation with. And I feel sex is kind of a, comes later, and sex will be pleasurable if you can connect with her and if she's nicer to you and to people around her, her family, friends, and all that. So like that, women's also sense of 10 changes as she matures, as she becomes, attains maturity. Does it change from 18 to 25, 30 to whatever?
I don't know if it changed so much from age.
Okay.
Because I have some girlfriends who are still just focusing on looks. I think it focuses on your own inner maturity. And once, like I said earlier, once you can get 10s, once you can get the cultural 10s, you start realizing some of those people, like you said, are psychotic. I don't want someone who looks good and is not crazy or is unkind, or I have to fight with all the time, or I don't feel like they like me as a person. I want, as you said, Sanjeev, I want someone that I feel really comfortable with. We can have some laughs. I just like hanging out on the couch with you. I want to touch your butt when we're in Trader Joe's, And a lot of this came from me studying tantra, because we would be, like I said, in these big rooms, everybody's naked, everybody's being themselves. And the definition of who's good looking really changes. Starts to be, who do I feel really comfortable with? Who do I feel really sexy with, relaxed? Who seems like they have a good sense of humor? I think it's the same for men and women. I think you guys are indoctrinated much worse that there's only one type of beauty, and this is the only kind of woman who's beautiful. I think you guys get really brainwashed that way. I think it's harder for men to overcome that, but I don't think it's impossible. As you said, you've done it. And maybe some of it's with age, but I think a lot of it is being able to say, I've been with 10s and it doesn't impress me anymore.
Yeah. One, secondary question. I think it also comes from a lot of bad experiences. And, one question to you. Sometimes it happens. I mean, I'm not just talking about myself. I have a lot of guy friends who also said the same thing. Like sometimes men, I mean, I'm talking about myself first, are drawn to some psychotic women who they find them sexually attractive and also hard to get. And I don't know, what is it? Is it the childhood wound in the men who makes them like those psychotic women, or what is it?
Well, there's a rumor that psychotic women are better in bed, right?
Yeah, but they might not be actually when you eventually have sex with them. So I don't know, what is it? What is this thing? Like
Well,
they get attracted to?
It's a psychological condition where love is not easy. Love is difficult. So if we grow up, so we all form our ideas about love in childhood. Before we can think, before we can rationalize things out, if we see mom and dad hitting each other, we grow up secretly thinking that love equals abuse.
Mm-hmm.
If we grow up with parents that aren't physically affectionate, we grow up, maybe we change, but deep down we're used to being ignored or being toyed with, or love isn't easy. We grew up thinking love isn't easy. So we attract relationships where love isn't easy. We find that attractive. Everybody in some weird cosmic way is attracted to the wounds of their childhood in a partner until they heal it. So this is why I say get into therapy, heal these things if you want to, so that you won't be attracting psychotic lovers and get trapped in these relationships that you can't seem to get out of because karmically you're really trying to work out a psychological pattern.
Do you
You
do
know,
tantric healing?
what's that?
Do you do tantric healing?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So again, these childhood wounds, for example, my father was very verbally critical and putting me down. And so what kind of guy did I attract? Smart guys who were verbal and putting me down. So until I worked that through, I still always found that attractive, weirdly enough. And the same thing, if your mother was a little overly dramatic and emotional, then that's what you'll find attractive until you heal that pattern in yourself.
Sure, thank you.
Sure.
Hey, Catherine, Akash Shinsi here. Great to hear you speak. I always love hearing what you bring to the table at each of these conventions.
Thank you.
My question is, and you talked about this in the meditation a bit, that we all have a broken heart, and it's something that everyone universally has. What are some things that we can do to heal our broken hearts?
A beautiful thing is to put a little animal on your heart, like a dog or a cat. Another thing is to notice that how I'm unloving. I'm unkind to people, I'm judgmental. I don't feel like helping that old person across the street, and just start changing that. It's really noticing that we're rewarded in this culture for not being loving, and I want to change that and become a loving person. I think that meditation that Vince was doing with you guys was very beautiful to open the hearts. I think you should really take a look at the fact that as men, you're being told that it's not masculine to be really loving. I find this shocking because most the men I know are very loving people. But you're being told all the time that men are aggressive, men don't care, men can do, just have no feelings at all when they have sex. Of course, men have feelings when they have sex. So just really also take a look at this conditioning from the mainstream that's telling you it's not really masculine to be loving. The great men that we admire, Martin Luther King, Cesar Chavez, all these great guys who just came from the heart and lived from the heart. And this is, I think, one thing for me that helped me open my heart is really identify with some of these people who live from the heart. It just gives me goosebumps to think of how they live their lives, giving us this legacy. So it's always looking at how we've been conditioned not to be loving, how the culture rewards people who are not loving, and go, I'm going to make a stand to be different than that. I'm going to stand to make it different than that. I'm going to live my life in a different way. I want to attract love. I want to be in a loving relationship. I want to heal my issues that are in the way of that. And I want to use my life to spread love as I can, not in some sort of schmaltzy Hallmark way, but just in a way of standing up, being real and caring. I love this image. Somebody gave me that once, just putting like a puppy or just something over your heart, something soft and sweet like that. And this man healed his heart by just feeling into this sweet little being. I don't know if you guys have little puppies there with you in lockdown. I doubt it. But you can just have the image, I think, is very healing.
I have a question. Can I do I have time to ask one?
We have time, Vin?
Please go for it.
I was wondering how would you approach like a girl who has like sexual trauma that's been like built up over the years? Like, how would you approach that?
Very gently and very tenderly and very lovingly. I would number one want to make sure, and this is a mystery principle anyway, I would just want to make sure that safety was the most important thing, because she has not felt safe to relax and be her natural sexual self, because that's been shut down. So I would make sure I was always providing an environment of safety and that I was a safe man. I would make sure that I'm a safe man, because if I'm, like I talked earlier in this presentation, if I'm just trying to use women to ejaculate into, that's fine. But this particular woman is not going to trust you. So you want to make sure that she knows you are a man, you do want to have sex. There's nothing wrong with that. That's completely natural and wonderful. But that you are a safe human being, and you demonstrate that through keeping your word, through not being in a hurry, through if you find yourself making a mistake, you correct and take full responsibility for it, and keeping small agreements. If you say you're going to call at a certain time, you call. If you say you're going to be there, you're going to be there. All of these things build trust. So one of my mentors gave me this line that I love. He said, trust is built by keeping small agreements. So each agreement that you make, that you keep, you build. It's like a building block on a wall. So each time you keep a small agreement, you build trust with that person. So you keep building this trust with her that you are a safe man, you are a trustworthy man, and then let her, hold her while she's scared, be a rock. And if that's difficult, then you get your therapy on the side, but you be a rock and let her know that her emotions are welcome.